This study looked at 4 different streams at 5 monitoring areas in southeastern PA. The streams that we looked at were Dismal Run, Dix Run, Chrome Run, and Rocky Run, where we are here today. These streams were selected because they're relatively homogeneous, similar geographically, geologically. However, in their drainage areas, they've experienced really different types of land development in recent years. So it allowed us to compare streams that should look pretty similar, so we could see how that runoff affected the way that the streams looked, their water quality, and also the species that were present. We started collecting data in 2017 and finished collecting data in 2021. We had stations set up at places like Rocky Run. We had 5 stations set up, plus a weather station. We also had auto samplers out that were collecting measurements during storm events. So we could see how the water quality shifted just before a storm, to during the storm, to after the storm. That allowed us to see how that pulse of stormwater runoff was different from the base flow of the stream itself. One of the primary people working on this project was the PhD student who did a lot of the work. Les was out here every day, taking the data, making sure that the samplers were working correctly.
I was very curious about how to analyze too much data. Each of our stations was collecting continuous stream flow, stream conductivity, stream temperature, as well as rainfall data. We were also collecting stream base flow and storm flow samples for analyzing different indicators for the stream water quality.
He worked a lot with my co-PIs doing surveys in the stream to check the different species that were here with Dr. Stanley Kemp, and then also working with our geotechnical engineer, Andrea Welker, to make sure that we were understanding the data and understand how the data was changing over time.
One of the things that I enjoyed the most in this research project was that I had the opportunity to connect with nature. I was not only collecting the data, but also was doing field work. I was out of the office. Additionally, I really enjoy working with Dr. Kemp, performing benthic microinvertebrate sampling as well as electrofishing, and I always had a great time working with his team.
One thing that we were interested in looking at in the more residential watersheds was the presence of nitrogen. Particularly during COVID-19, a lot of people used different types of fertilizers on their yards, and we saw an increase in nitrogen in the streams. Too much nitrogen impacts the quality of the stream, and it can affect the environmental quality for the species living there. We also see in the winter months that people use a lot of salts. Those salts work their way through the watershed and into streams. However, that can take months to occur. A lot of times the salts can even be stored in the banks or in the drainage area upstream of that. So you see the salts continue to work their way through the system for several months after de-icing events.
Definitely one of the most challenging parts of this project was to collect the data during the winter. Additionally, sensor failure was another thing. Sometimes during large storm events, some of the sensors got disconnected from the station. So I have to figure out where the sensor was located and also how to make sure that the sensor can be reconnected with the station, because if the sensor is not working, that means that we're not getting data. However, those were great opportunities for me in order to improve my technical skills and overcome those difficulties.
So the data showed us how much the rivers can vary depending on what they're draining. Changes between species, water quality, and geomorphology changed at different rates. The first part to change was the water quality. That was the quickest thing that you could measure. Species changes happened a little bit more delayed. However, you could see differences between the different sites. At the more pristine sites, you had a higher variety and a higher count of different types of invertebrates compared to the sites that were quite impaired due to urban development. This research has been really impactful to understand stream health and stream response to land cover development. It's important to keep our streams healthy. They provide really critical ecosystem services. And by looking at different variables, the geomorphic response, the water quality response, and also the ecological response to different types of land covers, we can understand the drivers of what allows a stream to be healthy and what inhibits that. And by understanding what is influencing the health of a stream, then we can understand how to keep our streams healthier.